Hi everyone, it's Miss Louise from the Addison Public Library, and welcome to our Celebrate Juneteenth story time. So, Juneteenth is a very important holiday celebrated every year on June 19th, and it commemorates the end of slavery. So, in the United States, African Americans were enslaved up through the 1860s. From 1861 to 1865, our country was involved in the Civil War. And in 1863, President Abraham Lincoln made the Emancipation Proclamation, which proclaimed that all enslaved people were to be set free. But not everybody heard this news or cared to share this news. And there were enslaved people in Texas who did not find out this very important news until 1865. And on that day, June 19th, they decided they would celebrate every single year this very important moment when all enslaved peoples in the United States were free. So today we're going to read a couple of stories that help us understand this very important holiday even better. But let's start with a hello song. Can we all wave hello? Excellent. Here we go. Hello, 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 and how are you? I'm fine, I'm fine. I'm hoping you are too. Very good. Excellent. Now that we've had that warm-up, let's try our first story. All Different Now. Juneteenth, the First Day of Freedom. By Angela Johnson, illustrated by E.B. Lewis. And this book is brought to us by Simon & Schuster Books for Young Readers. A June morning breeze off the port blew the smell of honeysuckle past the fields, across the yard, and into our room to wake us. And nobody knew, as we ate a little, talked a little, and headed to the fields as the sun was rising, that soon it would all be different. Then we worked and worked and worked some more under the hot Texas sun. Do you see what they're doing? They're picking cotton. Until word spread from the port to town, through the countryside, and into the fields. That a Union general had read from a balcony that we were all now and forever free, and things would be all different now. I watched as my Aunt Laura sang as she held her baby. Mr. Jake, who some say was 100, cried quietly, and a group of grown people bowed their heads and whispered things to each other that I could not hear. My mama held my hand softly and looked beyond as another breeze blew over and everything fell to a hush. But later, Papa, Mama, the aunts and uncles, and all of my cousins had an afternoon picnic by the water. My baby brother crawled around our blanket as we listened to the sounds of the waves. And as more people joined us, we ate as a free people, laughed as a free people, and told stories as free people, on into the night. What was before would be no more. As we walked back home, the cool of the night soothed our tired feet that padded quietly past the shadowy fields of cotton. And in the morning, the smell of honeysuckle will wake me again, besides my sisters and brother, to a time that will be for all of us. All different now. And that is the end of our story, All Different Now. So this, as you can see, tells the story of a family who finds out that news in Texas in 1865 that all enslaved people are free. Thank you for listening. Let's take a look at another story. This one's called Juneteenth for Missy by Floyd Cooper. Brought to us by Capstone Young Readers. Maisie wants to play outside, but it is too late. It's getting dark, Maisie. It's time to stay inside. Maisie wants a cookie, but it's time for bed. Not now, little one. It's too close to bedtime. Maisie wants to stay up late, but she is too little. Bedtime is the rule, sweet girl. Why so grumpy, Sugar Bear? Asks Dad. I can't go where I want, have what I want, or do what I want, answers Maisie. Well, tomorrow you can have a celebration, says Dad. What are we celebrating? Asks Maisie. We will celebrate the day your great-great-great-grandpa Mose crossed into liberty. The day will be celebrated by us and many more families on a day we call Juneteenth. Dad lifts Maisie into his arms. I bet you're tired of hearing no all the time. Well, great-great-great-grandpa Mose heard no even more. Grandpa Mose worked in fields that stretched all the way to sunset. He and the other slaves would be bone tired, but they had to keep going. Their masters wouldn't let them quit. But as they worked, they thought about freedom. See, when someone is enslaved, they aren't allowed to go where they want to go or do what they want to do. And before they finally went to sleep at night, they prayed about freedom and made plans for change and a better future. Some slaves ran north to freedom, following a bright star in the sky. They sweat, they bled, and they cried, till those cries were quieted by a single proclamation from a brave president. Grandpa Mose heard that proclamation read from the balcony of the hotel on that warm June day in Galveston, Texas. Grandpa Mose heard nothing but cheers, saw nothing but happiness, and felt nothing but pride shared by all those around him. The cheers became dancing, the dancing became celebrating. It went on and on into the night. Grandpa Mose and the others had found freedom. They continued to work, but this time they were paid for their hard work. So they worked, and they saved, and they never forgot the moment they heard, the moment that changed their lives forever. But things weren't perfect. Black people still struggled to stand shoulder to shoulder with white people. They still weren't treated as equals. It wasn't easy, but they never gave up. And every year on Juneteenth, they remembered. They marched for jobs. They lobbied for schools and the right to vote. They shouted for opportunity. And every year on Juneteenth, they celebrated and remembered. They learned and they grew. They forgave. They excelled and achieved. They became heroes. Now, sweet Maisie, it's your turn to celebrate, just like great-great-great-grandpa Mose. It's your turn, Maisie, to eat some barbecue and drink some strawberry pop. It's your turn to celebrate. And to remember. All right, friends, I'm going to read this short author's note here. On June 19th, 1865, soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, announcing the end of the Civil War and the end of slavery in the United States. It was more than 2 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. Celebrated every year on June 19th, Juneteenth commemorates the announcement of the abolition of slavery and the emancipation of African American citizens throughout the United States. And that is the end. Thank you so much for listening, friends. We will have a craft kit at the library that helps commemorate this very special day. We look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.